Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to part 2 of the Full Spectrum Laser live stream from Monday night. If you're just catching up with us, this episode we will be talking to Jess, one of the alleged victims of the potential crimes that may or may not have happened at Full Spectrum Laser. And we're really interested to be able to share her side of the story. You get to hear it right from her mouth. She actually called into the show. Remember, while you're listening, this is an anecdote from a third party. We have no way to confirm or deny any of the details in her story. We're just giving her a platform to speak. But we do really appreciate you coming on, Jess. So thank you so much for your time.
And if you missed it, again, this is part 2. You can go back to part 1 if you want to go through all of the details that have been shared with us. Following up this video will be a part 3, where we have a phone call with Walker from Full Spectrum Laser themselves.
That'll be a really interesting call. Definitely don't want to miss it. We'll have that coming out as soon as possible. As always, guys, thank you for your patience during the editing process. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode. We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
We had to get to the event that we're actually in Vegas for, so he got a cart, he wheeled it to our vehicle, he had one of the other staff help load it into the car. Again, not a clue that anything was, not how it should be.
You literally walked out of the building with the machine.
Yes.
Well, you actually escorted out with staff.
Yeah, you were escorted out with staff.
Yes.
What is building with the machine itself?
What an ignorant customer!
Yeah,
right?
how
what an
could
ignorant customer!
How could you allow this theft?
Get
All right,
the fuck out of here. Anyway,
please continue. Please continue.
I feel sorry for that guy. That's all I know. I feel sorry for that guy. His job is to clean this shit up.
Well, This is where Mark, who owns a few Full Spectrum Lasers, but this is where it's bad, though. This is where we said, running your company, if your PR person is a bit condescending and it's just their personality, that's rough. Yikes. That's like a guidance counselor who wants to punch kids in the balls. Hey, kids, come on in. Let's talk. It's just like, oh my God.
I'm getting bullied. Well, get out of his way. It's that's stupid.
Did he tell you I'll punch you if you don't move? And then you didn't move? Okay.
Well, buyer beware. Yeah, it's just kind of silly that he starts out with that, like you said, Alex, framing it in such a way that these people are suckers. They got suckered. They deserve to get what they got coming. And we're the company. Please protect us. Bail us out.
Yeah, and I agree with what Laura is saying. The entire situation is awful. And I will say he started off saying that, which I was like, oh, that's a good start. Because it is. It's rough, man.
Yeah. I do feel bad for the company, but I also feel bad for the customers. The company, obviously anybody would miss $500,000 if they don't have the product to sell to make up that, right? But on the other hand, these people are also paid out money already for this hardware, and it's already been received and in use.
A year, yeah. That's the part that gets me.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me.
It's rough.
Yeah, the company lost their ass. The customers being screwed in the process, and there's one person to blame, or two people if these things are true. Allegedly, have a drink. But that's more. You're gonna have to go pee. But yeah, that's where it comes down to, is that this is a theft of some sort, and unfortunately, there should be one party who's responsible to litigate this, and it's not every single customer. That's not how business works. And by the way, they're using all these fucked up tactics to scare people into waiting. Don't sell it. It's going to ruin our image. Why are all of our sales? Why is everybody selling our lasers now? Because nobody fucking wants them. It's a big PR problem for them, allegedly, if this is true, or any company. But this specific situation.
And this is where I think Moss is kind of tying in what you're saying is, and can you imagine if this was your job, by the way, and you're getting calls all day, or you're having to make calls all day, and then it's like, hey, this is Alex from Laser Everything, and it's like, God damn it. So I get it, but it's probably hard to accept such a huge loss as a company. And that's the thing that sucks too, is if you are working at any company, so this is not just them, but any company where this goes down, it's got to be a nightmare scenario to be in that office right now with people having to deal with that. So
again, my opinion, but I'd be updating my damn resume.
Here's the other thing too. If the information we saw tonight was true, where the officer said allegedly that this is an issue between the company and the fraudulent and illegal activity of what their employee did in their business. This sucks that people are being blamed, or at least receiving what feels like they're being smacked for. You know what I mean? That sucks.
Jessica's in the house.
Can we get? I don't know if this is possible. I'm working on something right now. I'm just trying to keep. We're walking a very fine line here, sharing this information in a way that keeps us safe. And so I'm doing some background work here to make sure that we continue to do that before we continue. So while I'm working on that, I would love to get Jess on here. I don't know if Jess is willing to come in and chat with us. I know that Kyle's in contact with Jess on Facebook. I'd love to hear Jess's story from her. If that's something that we can arrange, that would be amazing. I don't know if she's willing. If she's not willing, that's totally fine. She's already given us more than enough. But I would love to talk to her if we had the chance to do that.
Kyle is typing his ass off.
Yeah. All right. I'm going back in the hole. I'll be back out in a minute.
I just realized this whole time my mic was off. So that was great. I've just been like flailing my hands. Jess said she could do audio.
I'll send you a link in Facebook.
And then here's one thing. And by the way, what I wanted to go back to what Alex was talking about, the comments I'm making specifically are about any company that does business, right? Like if this scenario were to happen to any company, to handle it in the way that I've seen presented, that's where it's a hard pill to swallow. And it's one of those things where it's like success comes from your name and in the actions you put behind it. And so it's tough to me that any company would do that. And Have Blue, I already see Boy saw it. Yeah. This has been a great stream, Alex, allegedly.
I'm wondering if we should use a voice changer for Jess. So that's like,
well, I mean, dude, that just makes it sound like she works at fucking Taco Bell. Like, God, I want to order some soft tacos. Let's see.
Total.
You have worked at a Taco Bell. Jesus Christ. By the way, Mark said the reason he knows the guy's voice, he does a bunch of videos and live streams on the FSL channel. This is regarding Wallace, I think his name was. Yeah, well, the one that's up here, the PR guy. He said he has a few of those machines. It appeals to beginners. I recommend just going with Dorito-based machines. That is what he was saying. So
here's Jess. Bam.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, Jess.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing? Yeah, we can hear you fine.
We can hear you. Thanks for joining us.
So, Jess, can you tell us kind of, you've already shared so many emails with us. I don't know how much of the stream you've been able to catch tonight or not, but just like in your own words, your experience, how you felt like things kind of went down to share with our audience so that they can kind of wrap their heads around it. We did our best to piece things together according to the documents that we're so grateful that you were able to send over to us. But like the complete story just from you, I feel like would be really helpful for people to hear, if you don't mind. Do we have you there, Jess? Can you guys hear her?
Yeah, I'm on.
Hey.
I was hearing Alex and whoever was talking to me directly at the same time. So I was
sorry. No worries. No worries. Just want to make sure we didn't lose you.
Okay. Am I here now? Good.
Yep. You're here. Good. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I didn't get to see I actually just jumped in and didn't get to see what you guys had covered before. So if you guys just have questions for me, I can tell you what my experience is. And so I don't know how much you want the word alleged in there, but this has been my
we're going to share Jess's story with you guys live.
Anecdotal.
This is an anecdote from Jess. This is her experience. This is how she feels the situation unfolded. I think that should cover you, Jess. First of all, when did you buy the machine in question?
Okay, so I feel like I must be sucker of the year because I did it 3 times. I think that made me take the cake. According to the officer, I was an outlier. He had talked to all the other people affected first, and then I was the last one he called because I had purchased 3 machines through my first.
We're gonna just, Jess.
Yep.
Can I get a timestamp, somebody in Slack, please? We want to avoid
names.
Alleged committers of crimes. Yeah. So let's just say the accused, if we could.
Sure. Yes. Perfect.
We'll edit that out in post. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Please continue.
I think originally it was probably I want to say it's 2021, and somebody could probably check the documents. I started out with a Muse Titan. I had been talking to, and am I all right to say who the Facebook account I spoke to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was speaking to at that time who I believed was Fred Jones through their Facebook. And even then I was kind of under the assumption that was a generic name so that multiple people could man their social media. And so I was speaking to someone there, and they had said to me that, because I had spoken to them, I originally bought a PS20 as my first machine, was needing to scale up. So I just reached out to who my last contact had been at the company, which was the Fred Jones.
Fred Jones, yeah.
And
why wouldn't you do that, right? Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I see you have this. At the time, they had a deal going on, and I said, okay. And I started asking questions about, different size lasers and what the options were and how the deal would be working. And someone had actually mentioned something about a trade-in, which is why I started asking, well, what kind of options are there? And I said, well, here's the deal. I have this X amount of cash. And so I was looking to trade, somebody had said something about trading in. So I was intrigued. I have this much cash and I would love to trade this one in, move up, scale up. I'm ready to do that. Right. And he said, well, actually, I think I might have a deal for you. We have an influencer who is local, who we work with all the time. He'll bring the machines back to us. We'll actually go back through them, make them good as new. They'll still have the full spectrum warranty. We'll ship them from here. It's, he helps us. We help him get these machines moved so he can keep, because we want him to have the newest, nicest as they come out. And that made sense to me, and it helped me because then the price was in what I could afford to scale
up. You didn't
up.
even have, at this point, you're thinking, I don't even have to do the trade-in. I could just buy the machine, right?
Yeah. And that's what I did. Just purchase that one outright. And what was funny, when he was doing that with me, he's like, let me check with him. I'm pretty sure he has a Titan over there. His name is, and the alleged, here's his phone number. Tell him I told you to contact him. So I'm under the impression I'm actually talking to a different person. It was the one in the same.
So that's a new detail for us. So the person that you were speaking with, Fred Jones, and the influencer that he was sending you to were actually the same person.
Yes.
What gave that away? How did you discover that?
It was not until all of this came to light that was something that you could piece together, just because he just said the generic name and gave me a phone number. And, and he would wait, like he'd say, let me check with him, and wait like 10 to 15 minutes. And then he's like, yep, he said that sounds good.
Right.
So just giving you the illusion that he was actually talking to somebody else.
Right.
And then so he gave me the PayPal to PayPal, and then I got a regular bill of sale from Full Spectrum. I got the shipping. Everything came.
Okay, so and I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that, if you're okay with it.
Yep.
Okay, so we've seen reports, and this isn't really something that I've shown on stream so far, but we've seen reports that the email address on PayPal to which the money was going to be sent to seemed like more of a personal email address. Was that your experience?
Yeah. And so the reason that made sense is because he was saying, two ways that he was doing this. Either A, it was the influencer and you're actually paying the influencer who owned the machine, or they would sell them at a deep discount to them because they were doing it.
Right.
But they would bring,
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. That makes perfect sense, right? You're paying the influencer who's letting the machine go, but Full Spectrum's going to ship it to you.
Right, because they have this contract together to do this so that they can keep getting new nice
Absolutely.
machines.
And then so not only did that make sense, but then you're shipped a laser. This came from Full Spectrum's warehouse.
Yes.
Full Spectrum packaged that machine up in a crate with all of the supporting documents and everything that you would expect, like a bill of lading, like a shipping manifest, all of that stuff was included.
Just like the first one.
Yes,
Right.
exactly like the first one.
Exactly like the first one. So there's literally like no possible way that you could have determined that this would be fraud at this point in your experience, because it's literally like just, by the books. It seems at least from your perspective that it's by the books.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please. So what happened next?
So I suppose about 9 months later, just about like everyone else in the laser world, fibers hit and everybody wants to get one of those too. And of course I did too. And so I reached out again, especially because he was able to offer me, a better deal on one, and said, hey, looking to add to the fleet here. What do you got?
At this point, you're feeling comfortable with Fred Jones because he's been your rep. You guys have been talking back and forth. He's taken care of you twice now.
Yeah, and it's not like I didn't talk to him other times. Like there's multiple like service things that went back and forth, and he was always my guy. He'd say, "I got you taken care of," and he would be right there helping me with the machines. If he would send the updates. I was actually even part of their beta Facebook group. So like if they had updates that they wanted to just test out, I was in that and he would send them to me. So pushing the updates. So yeah, I just thought, hey, he's a good guy. I've made a good, strong connection with the company. This is good for me.
And there have been a lot of, there's been a lot of kind of disagreement, I guess, from what I've seen so far about whether or not this individual actually worked at Full Spectrum Laser or not. Did you experience anything during this that kind of clued you into the fact that they were truly an employee? Did they have contacts that were actually part of the company? Did they have access to something only an employee would have? What would you say about that?
Yeah. I'll just say that the first fiber, we'll just say that happened quite similar to the second fiber. And I'll tell you that story because that would illustrate further why, again, I would have no reason to question this. Mm-hmm. So just that purchase, so that would have been the third machine I purchased from him, was just this past September.
Okay. And
I was actually going to be, as it turned out, I was going to be in the Las Vegas area. There was an event there, as there always is in Vegas. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be there. That looks like probably it could save me some shipping. So I'm wanting to move up from, like everyone else. I bought a 20 and I'm like, well, that's dumb. I need to move up to a 50. That's not enough.
Right.
And, he's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And he says, yep. And that one, I actually played a little bit of hardball with him because I'd been looking at a competitor company. He's like, you know what, for you, we'll match that. Hey, you've bought multiple from us. I'll see what I can do to make this happen.
Which almost continues to sell the illusion, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I go there on a Friday and, for me, this is like a 22-hour drive, by the way. It's not like just swing over and get it.
Shit.
Yeah.
He tells us, hey, here's where you come on in. Has me sit down in his office, says, can I get you any water? He had gone so far as, because I told him, hey, I'm going to want to be cutting sterling silver. I'm going to be wanting to cut copper. And he had ordered them from Amazon, done testing, sent me the video and the pictures, and then brought me into the office and said, oh yeah, here's the extra material. Here you go.
Quick question. At this point, do you think that because you're in person right now in the story, right? Do you think you're still talking to Fred Jones?
The alleged. For me, that was the first time. But again, when you think that, okay, Fred Jones is a generic name, so multiple people can be in there.
Right.
I'm already recognizing that his face doesn't match Fred Jones.
Right.
But that, again, you don't question that because you think, well, that's probably because they just made Fred Jones. So whoever's working right then, because he would answer at all hours.
Did he introduce himself that way?
He didn't introduce himself. He just said, hey guys, how you go? How's it going?
Okay. Yeah. For sure. All right. Sorry to interrupt. I was asking him as they come.
So not only does he, have us in his office, which obviously then you're like, yeah, you work here. This is your office. He told me he was the ops manager guy. He's kind of the owner's right-hand man, had worked there for years.
Right.
He introduced us to all the marketing staff. He took us back and showed us where they had they assemble the lasers. He showed us this really sweet lady, introduced us to her, who QCs all the machines, like an older woman. And he was like, she's our rock star. He gave us sneak peeks of machines that weren't out yet to show us what they had in the works. He took us back in the warehouse so we could see their storage and how many machines they had, which just supported his, well, we have a new fiber coming out, so I was able to get you a deal on these because the owner said, yeah, we just got to unload some of those. And he did show the fiber that was
at this point, you are like 10,000 leagues under the sea in this ruse, because you're there, you're physically there. Like, how could this be any more real for you as a consumer when you're standing in the building where they are shipping these things from?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And to like be seeing everybody that you see on their social media and being introduced to them, and they had contests going at that time that I'd been watching, and I got to see the projects in person that they'd been showing. It was like red carpet treatment. And never, if something's, like shady, would you expect the red carpet treatment like
right that? Yeah, absolutely, of course.
So he we had to get to the event that we were actually in Vegas for, so he got a cart, he wheeled it to our vehicle, he had one of the other staff help load it into the car. Again, like, not a clue that anything was not how it should be.
You literally walked out of the building with the machine.
Yes.
Well, you actually escorted out with staff.
Yeah, you're escorted out with staff.
Yes.
What is building with the machine itself?
What an ignorant customer!
Yeah,
right?
How
customer!
How could you allow this theft?
Get
All
the
right,
fuck out of here. Anyway,
please continue. Please continue.
So well, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hear nothing. It all goes well.
Mm-hmm.
There were things again that just looked like they were Full Spectrum's outstanding customer service. Like, I had a belt break on my Titan, and he was like, "Don't worry about it. I'll just send you one." Me realizing now that was because he was probably afraid I was going to talk to someone else on their team, and they would realize that there wasn't a Titan under my account. But didn't charge me for it. Just said, "I got you," and sent it to me. And I'm like, "Hey, what a great guy!"
I mean, if you can make whole lasers disappear, one more belt isn't anything.
Ultimately, that is the crux of this, right? Is that at some point your account did show up on somebody's computer screen, and at that point, have you lost control of your machines yet?
At one point, the Titan was bricked, and so at that point, there's a phone number on it, and you're to call the phone number, and that's when you talk to the owner of the company. That was my experience. I spoke with the owner of the company, and he said what was going on, and then I received. Some people did, and some people didn't. It appears I received the letter that I think you guys might have been able to take a look at.
Yep.
And and so then I did. A couple weeks later, I got a call from an officer. He assured me that I owned my machines.
Mm-hmm.
It was that there was only one victim, and that is the company. You don't go after everybody individual. He said that could drag on for years. That wouldn't be in Full Spectrum's best interest. I've told him not to do that.
Right.
The company's the victim.
At this point, I'm like wondering if the police officer is Fred Jones. Because this is so wild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like so.
To your point, I actually, instead of just calling the phone number, I deep dove into the Las Vegas Police Department's looking
at this point, right?
You have to, yeah.
Yeah. Because I questioned everything.
Yeah, because you're getting that information from the same place you got other information that also was not accurate.
Yep.
It's just voices on the phone.
Could you just imagine you're one dude sitting there doing like 5 phone calls? Like, who am I? You got to put these hats on and shit.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And also, was the Titan eventually unbricked for you?
Yes, it was.
What did that involve? You giving Full Spectrum Laser any money?
No money. But what they wanted is any communication that I'd had with the Fred Jones account. They wanted that to build their case. So basically, they were saying, "Hey, you're not using your lasers until you help us." However they wanted to present that. They could have just chose to email us all, or something, or at least just put a banner on it. They didn't have to prevent us from using it.
Yeah, part of what I'm having trouble with too is that the story seems to change for a lot of people in this group that you're a part of, because that's where we've gotten a lot of this information was from these other people that have had similar experiences, and it seems like for some people the ultimatum is you help us with the case or we don't unlock your machine. For other people, it's get a refund from PayPal or your credit card company and then give us the money or you don't get access to your machine. and then other people just seem like lost in the woods. Like it's just been locked for months and they've heard nothing. None of that is acceptable. But it's just bizarre how frequently, or rather how differently, all of the victims of this are being treated.
He did indicate that they were reaching out to people in batches because they were afraid of the number of calls they would get or tickets that they would have.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think they would brick them all at once. You think they would brick them in sections then as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they locked their warehouse, but
yeah, the whole bricking them in like series like that is also really concerning, because I feel like it would keep you guys from ever talking to each other about what was happening. Because if they're getting bricked one at a time, then two people aren't ever going to have the same problem at the same time and communicate about it somewhere outside of somewhere they would supposedly have control.
And one of the things that kind of kept me quiet for so long is I never saw anybody questioning it. I saw there was maybe 2 posts on their social media saying, "Hey, I got this screen. What is this about?" And it was only like a sales response saying, "Hey, we'll get you taken care of. Go ahead and call the number." Mm-hmm. Nobody after the fact was saying the reason why. And I was like, okay, so everybody's just helping them and we're being respectful. We don't want to tarnish their image, because we felt bad for them that this happened to them.
It is shitty for everybody.
It sucks for everybody, but that doesn't excuse a lot of this alleged behavior that we've seen from them as a company.
From any company. Yeah.
From any company at all. I'm particularly astounded by the email exchange that you shared with us between you and the alleged owner or CEO. The behavior there is just like I don't even have words for it. Like I'm speechless. It's obscene.
Yeah,
it's absolutely obscene that somebody who's supposedly running and representing any company at all, from a pizza place to a giant laser manufacturer, would take that tone with a customer, no less a victim of fraud. You know what I mean? I just I can't even. I'm speechless.
Response as well.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just question marks all around.
And it felt like in reviewing those, like you were trying so hard to be patient. I felt like you were just like, every single email you were just like, listen, bro, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to meet you in the middle here, and you're not really helping me out. What was the time period that those emails were exchanged over? Was that like a day, or was that like a month?
The exchange that was all the back and forth about when I initially tried to list one for sale, that was all just this last Friday night. Right.
So earlier in the stream, I was speculating that you had purchased one machine that was, we'll call it counterfeit, and the others were legit. Since then, I've learned that all 3 of these machines were sold to you by Fred Jones. He's not allowing you to sell any of them. So
no.
You're stuck with these permanently.
Yeah, because in the email I was sent, he said that he still owns them, therefore I can't sell them.
Right, but then you've got law enforcement over here telling you do own the machine.
Right, and I didn't list it for sale for that very reason until I heard the officer say to me, "You own those machines. That is yours." Because I did want to be respectful of, okay, I don't know how this is going to shake out, and so I'm going to wait. And so for me, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, how can I, as a business, if I don't own my machines, if I can't sell them, if I can't scale up, I can't operate like this.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, like, I can't operate a business knowing that any time he could change his mind and brick them all again.
Crap out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point, is to get the word out about, first of all, like, anything that touches base with the cloud at all in order to work is a big red flag, right? But the point that you're raising too about the fact that, like, you're running your business, you own this equipment, but you don't really own it, but you can't get rid of it, because the second you get rid of it, it self-destructs.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Matt, please.
I was gonna say, I've got 2 things. Number one, where are you as far as lawyers go? Because this is at litigation level, in my opinion, because like you just said, it's affecting your livelihood.
Tread lightly here, but
I just mean, are you going? So my question would be solely this, and I don't need to go further than this. Are you going to get a lawyer?
I am,
because at this point, like,
everything as far as I can, not only for me, but on behalf of the others, I have reached out to 4 other laser companies, seeing if they're, want to shoot us a deal, because I know there are people who, have one machine and it's their side hustle and they need that income. And, I know one sitting with her still bricked right now, and that's ridiculous.
And so that's where, like, for me, but I feel like both sides should have lawyers in any instance like this, not just you and them, but at any point, because this is an issue of business loss. And so to me, that's one of those things where it'd be the best way to figure that out, because insurance is something that most businesses have. And if it is a case of theft, then that's where it turns into, in my brain, something that the courts, because police are not the branch that says you're fine. It's not up to them to decide. And that's what's tough for you, is because you've got this, one person telling you that, they've got somebody telling them that, and now it's all in between, when really that there's so much gray area there. But then the other thing is, this is where Willie has a good point. And again, not specifically talking about this instance, but the reason I think that Willie has a good point here is a lot of companies that get into these situations where they've lost a lot of money have to find ways to recoup it. And they do that by basically scaring people into paying, because you don't know the law, they don't know the law. They just kind of are trying to figure out what works. And I wonder how many people get stuck in that scenario too.
Charlie points out to law enforcement, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting legal representation, Jess, because Charlie's pointing out, obviously, law enforcement, the cops,
Charlie said the same thing,
are not the ones who can say who owns what, though. That's up to the courts, etc. So I double check, which is absolutely true, right? And that legal representation is really going to help you guys out with that. And hopefully, you guys can get a real answer, because it's just like nothing about your experience has been real so far.
And, I actually received 2 more emails tonight where it looks like the owner has actually, potentially for the first time, spoke to a lawyer about this, which means A, we scared him, but also that we're having an impact. And his email was less bold, I would say. And his position is that the employee was never making sales on the company's behalf. And I don't know how he can come to that conclusion when you see how the sales went down. But that's his position on why we need to get the money from the person.
Of course, we are just talking speculation and opinions here. I can't repeat that enough. But, we've kind of pointed out and poked multiple holes in why that doesn't really add up throughout the course of the stream tonight. Jess, I don't know how much you've been able to catch of the live stream tonight. I just
saw you guys were live, and so I jumped in and texted you guys.
Definitely give it a rewatch, because we kind of tear that apart. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. No way that I can currently justify that making sense in my mind, that's the case.
I just was saying, I was going to go back to what we've already said, which is previously that means that somehow having access to all of your different pieces of data, the ability to order sales through your company, the ability to get physically into your warehouse, having other people who work there load things for you. Everything you've said makes it seem difficult the holes are there. And it's just really weird.
Just the fact that it's not like I was, texting a phone number, emailing it was the actual official Facebook, their representation, who I've told that the owner is actually still manning that page. If I'm doing all the communication through there, that person was acting as a representative of the company by using that social media account.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Having access to all the different pieces makes it.
Yeah.
The lawyers really are going to tear this into a thousand itty bitty tiny little pieces with a lot of the semantics here. And I think that's going to end up making a difference in the long run. But, the way things stand, in my view, from everything that I've kind of absorbed throughout the night tonight and the day to day while we were planning for this, you guys are getting screwed really hard. Of course, we're here to, kind of give you guys a platform. We want you to be able to feel like you have the chance to tell your stories so that people can hear about them. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk to us today, Jess.
Thank you for giving us a platform. I'm so appreciative.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to jump over here in a minute to Kyle, who's got about 2 minutes left on transcribing the call. We can't play the whole thing live. I'm being told we can't do that, but Kyle's going to be back with us in just a minute here with a transcription, which we're going to be able to go over together. This is a call that I did receive from Full Spectrum Laser in response to my request for a comment. So we'll be talking about that really soon. Jess, before Kyle jumps back in, do you have anything else that you wanted to mention or make sure got said before I let you go?
No, I'm obviously will be watching for the rest of it, and I'm just really appreciative of what you guys are doing.
Right on. No problem at all, Jess. Thank you so much again for your time. We'll talk to you really soon, okay?
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, Jess. Oh,
wow.
That's weird.
That was so that added a lot of context. That added a lot of context.
That's wild that she went into the warehouse, had multiple people. Like, that's wild.
Well, think about this. Either everyone's in on it, the whole fucking company's in on it. You know what I mean? Like, come on, everyone.
Yeah. The thing that really grabbed me about Jess's telling of the situation, she didn't buy 1 or 2, 3 machines from Fred Jones over the course of 2 years. Like Kyle was saying, 3 machines
with the same paperwork.
That's nuts.
Same process, same paperwork.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's absolutely insane. Kyle's working hard on his transcript over there. I'm sure he'll interrupt us when he's ready. I'm really excited to be able to share this with you guys too. I feel like this is the bow on the end of this package here for you guys tonight. Shout out to everybody that's here with us watching live tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that you guys are interested in this content. We were going to publish a full kind of like feature length video with like interviews and stuff like that. And it was just going to take too long. I was like, let's go live. Miranda and Kyle said it'd be a good way to like gauge what the, interest would be in this topic. So obviously there's interest. We may go ahead and do like a longer format video that really gets into this. So far, it's definitely panning out to be an interesting and kind of devastating story.
I also have someone who just sent me a DM that has the direct contact phone number to the CEO. Because he's the one that turned on his machine because he had the same breaking problem. He had to provide his wire transfer documentation, and then the owner turned his stuff back on. So he has direct access, and maybe he's somebody else we could invite on to share their experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we go that route. Yeah.
If we have the time and they're willing, I'm always happy to hear more stories from more guests, of course.
Awesome.
And so I just pulled up. Mike C said, did she say that she took delivery of the 3rd laser at their actual like location of business, like the warehouse? Yes. Right? That's what she was saying. The third one was picked
shocking
up on
too.
Location.
Another shocking detail. She literally took that laser
with no introduction by name. Hey guys, come on in.
Yeah, and she walked out with the machine.
Strange.
She had help out. She had help out of the facility with the machine to her car. Just unreal. But that was her fault. I don't know, man.
Silly customers.
Silly customers for sure.
Coming into our warehouse.
I can't even believe that we're doing this live stream right now, honestly. And yes, frankly, if you're wondering out there, I am killing time waiting for Kyle, who should be wrapping up very shortly here, because this is kind of the last thing that we have to go over tonight. How did you guys feel talking to Jess? I mean, did you?
I just feel bad for her because that's like gaslighting is the word, like Boy said. Yeah. And again, I am always like tonight. I'm literally speaking on any company that does business because I've had situations like this before with bill collection companies. Like when I was younger, Best Buy kind of did the same thing. I know this is kind of like way out of left field here from our discussion, but I've had similar tactics and similar things happen to me where Best Buy, I paid my credit card. When I called, I said, how much do I owe? And I was only like 20 at the time. So I didn't really know much about credit cards and the fact that, you pay off the credit card is what it looks like. But then there might be like $1.50 left after that next session to pay it down completely. And that's what happened to me is like the $1.50 turned into like $2.50, it turned into $3.50 and whatever. But then the worst part was over like $14.25. It's the one thing that's ever been reported against me to the credit bureaus. And so people would come after me and they're like, we're calling to collect money for $14.50. And we know where you live. We can take away this and that. And it's like the legalese stuff when when you're not familiar with it. And that's the point I'm getting at, is when you have these people tell you that they can do these things to you and you don't know any better, when someone says I can shut off your livelihood, that's terrifying. Like when you've got 3 machines and that's how you pay for your life, that's how you pay for your business.
This is literally like a mobster coming in to like your flower shop and being like, man, it'd be a real shame if something were to happen in this flower shop.
I see you like your kneecaps. I like kneecaps too.
It looks really combustible. Looks kind of combustible. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not saying that it's going to be burned down in a fire next week. I'm just saying that would be horrible. Like,
there's a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind here.
There's a lot of wind. A simple match can start a big fire.
By the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Sparky. Hello.
Yeah. Like, shit, man. Wait, like I just it's like
it's intimidation. Yeah, it's intimidation.
Cartoonishly villainous.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's kind of my take on any business that does that kind of stuff. And by the way, what sucks too is they might be allegedly getting screwed over too. But it's one of those things where, like, if you're the company, I feel like it's your job to try to, like, when Ford fucks up, they have
a
recalls. And so but it's one of those things too where, like, this is the kind of thing that can sink a company from losses. Like when you don't have those. But to me, like, so my question is, any of you guys know about insurance? Like, that's my thought, is like, if this was theft, from the way I understand it, like if someone was stealing cars from a lot, you file charges against the person. If you know they stole stuff, then you have them arrested. Then from that, you get like a suit number, like a lawsuit number, because you'd have to be suing that guy for criminal charges and pursuing that. And then from that, you should get a case court number that would let you in turn file with your insurance company, right? Like, so that's where I'm wondering.
Yeah, the insurance companies do all the suing back and forth nowadays, honestly. So, like, if it's
like, my anxiety is like 12 right now.
I would assume business insurance has liability for theft.
You would think.
You would think, which who knows? Loopholes is keeping the right people rich, so whatever.
The updates and the service, like if someone did buy that, it's future loss too. And this is where you'd have to sue the guy, because if you sell a machine, you're also selling the services that go with it for its perpetuity. And so that's where it turns into that kind of a loss later on. So it's not only just negative loss at the time, it's also like, ongoing.
That's the end of this segment of the Full Spectrum Laser live stream. Remember, this is a constantly developing story. Things are changing all the time. So by the time you're hearing this or seeing this, it may have already changed. We're always getting new information. We just got messages this morning. I think you got a couple messages that relayed some new information to you. Did you not, Kyle?
I did. Yeah, we'll be reporting more on that in a future video. So stay tuned, guys.
As we can. And remember, this, again, may or may not be an open case. There are things that the participants that are sharing this information with us secondhand may or may not want to have revealed at any given time, and may or may not be able to reveal at any given time. So just keep that in mind too. While we'll try to give you guys everything that we can, I'm sure there will inevitably be, though there haven't been yet, some details that we are unable to share with you.
So stay tuned for more videos on this developing situation and more. We'll also, of course, have more projects and educational content coming up soon, as well as the other podcasts that we do. And check the link in the description for Discord, for the Facebook group, for LMA. The members there support what we do and keep us able to focus on the community and the content that we do.
Yeah.
So thank you all for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one.